Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to recap Queen Sugar Season 5, Episode 2, which was titled Mid-March 2020. So you guys know when last week's episode ended, Ralph Angel and Darla were out on the river and were out walking by the river, and Ralph Angel got down on one knee and proposed to Darla. So when the show opens up this week, Ralph Angel and Darla are sitting at the kitchen table and they're trying to pick out stationery for their engagement announcement, for the wedding, and for the reception. And so Ralph Angel, if he could have things his way, he would probably have a wedding like Aunt Vi in Hollywood did, where they were at the house, they got married in the front yard, the reception was in the backyard. He's probably thinking that they can do like an engagement party at Aunt Vi's restaurant and call it a day, and that they really don't need this fancy stationery because they can send out a group text message. So y'all know that's not going to work. Darla has these ideas of her dream wedding, and so she's willing to compromise. So she tells Ralph Angel, let me have my dream wedding and you can choose the honeymoon. And she asks him, what would you want to do for a honeymoon? And Ralph Angel said he would love to go to New York and take in some Broadway plays, and just explore New York. So that's the game plan. Darla's going to plan the wedding. Ralph Angel is going to plan the honeymoon. And so Ralph Angel, says that he's pretty much going to be happy. Darla is still concerned about the eminent domain letter that they received. But Ralph Angel says, that's what they want us to be. They want us to be stressed out, worried, and concerned about things that are out of our control. He says, but he's not going to do that. He is going to be happy and upbeat, and he is not going to allow the government or whomever to steal his joy. And I think that's one of the things that got me through COVID is that, in the beginning, we were all glued to the television. We're hearing all these dire reports. We're hearing about all these people dying. And then one day, because I used to do like screenshots of the reports for Florida, and I would post it on my Facebook page and stuff. And then one day I said, I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to start focusing on if they say 1 million people have tested positive for COVID, I'm not going to focus on the 100 that may have passed away. I'm going to focus on, the 999,990 people that recovered, that survived. And so that's how, I started looking at it as, sort of like the flu. People get the flu, and we don't dwell on that as much anymore. You start to take precautions, so I started wearing my mask. I started boosting up my immune system, and doing things with my daughters, like, educating ourselves on how to deal with this. And I just stopped dwelling on the negative and, turned off the TV. Like, if this is all they're going to talk about on TV, I'm not watching it because I don't want to be put into, that mind frame of, we're doomed. Like, we can't get through this. And so that helped me a lot, to get through last year. So meanwhile, Charlie has an appointment with Parker, but when she arrives at Parker's office, she learns that Parker has left town. So Charlie was going in on the receptionist, and the lady was looking at her like, what do you want me to do? I'm just delivering the message. I'm sorry she didn't cancel the meetings. But then that, sparked Charlie to thinking, okay, she didn't cancel the meeting on purpose because she didn't want me to know what she's up to. And so then Charlie, after she chastises the woman about how unprofessional it is that, they wouldn't even call her and cancel, and how, she's a busy woman and, she could have rearranged her schedule, blah, blah, blah. The lady was like, I'm sorry, ma'am. Like, there's nothing I can do. So Charlie calls Nova, to complain about Parker and to let Nova know that she thinks that Parker is up to something and that they need to get to the bottom of it. But Nova instead tells Charlie, okay, well, take the next hour and go do something nice for yourself so you can chill out, go get a manicure, go buy you a latte, go sit down at the park or at the waterfront and just reflect. Okay, just breathe for a moment. But we know that Charlie is incapable of doing that. So then Nova changes the subject and she asks Charlie, for some advice. She's going to meet Calvin's family for the first time. It's the grandfather's 85th birthday, and she really doesn't know how she should act or carry herself. And so Charlie tells her to just take a deep breath, be calm, and no matter what these racist ass white folks do or throw your way, let it bounce off and just, stay positive and upbeat. So Nova is really downplaying, how she feels about being accepted by Calvin's family. Deep down inside, it is really important to her, and she really wants to make a good first impression. And so I was thinking that Nova need to roll up there in some African attire and some kente cloth and a dashiki, but instead, she's trying to figure out what matronly sundress she can wear, to not stand out in the crowd or to make herself fit in, with this highfalutin, high society, racist white family. We move over to Prosper and Hollywood, and they're at Hollywood's club and they're putting on the finishing touches, and Hollywood is excited, that he will be opening up soon. And so he has some books like on self-help care, on business, books that Black men can, come into the club and read, and, motivational type books and everything. And so Prosper starts telling him that, he really appreciates, what Hollywood is trying to do. And he says that him, Ernest, and some of the other farmers, that they used to do the same thing when they were younger. They would get together. They would be a support system for each other, to have that shoulder to lean on when they were having problems. And so Hollywood tells Prosper, that his idea is that this is going to be the go-to spot, when things get tough, and that, men can have somebody that they can talk to and openly express themselves to. And so interesting enough, Prosper expresses his concerns over the virus. He's been watching the news and he's learned that the virus is now in Seattle. And so, of course, he's an elderly man. They're saying on the news that it's really impacting elderly people. He doesn't really have, family with him. I think his kids live somewhere else. And so he's really afraid, but Hollywood tells him, we got your back. You don't have anything to be afraid of, because for the virus to get to you, it's got to go through me first. And, I have you covered. So I like that scene, with Hollywood and Prosper. And it made me think about my dad, because my dad has passed away, but I just was wondering as I was watching Queen Sugar last night, I was like, man, I wonder if my dad was still alive, how he would have dealt with COVID-19, because he was such a protector. And no matter what he was experiencing or feeling, like he always put the family first. He was always there to make sure we had what we needed. And it wasn't until my dad, he had several strokes before he passed away. And it wasn't until, he was really sickly, and he was in the nursing home one day. I think he was on some medication, and he just started telling me stories about his childhood, about younger siblings that he had that had passed away when they were younger, that I knew nothing about. Like, I didn't know that my grandfather worked for the Pullman train company. Like, I knew none of that until my dad was nearing his death and he was sharing this information. And so I just wonder, like, how he would react to what's going on now in the state of the world. And then, like, my mom only leaves the house to go to the doctor, because she has health issues. And that's the only time she has left the house. So she's probably left the house 4 times in the past year. And I think about my one aunt that lives nearby, who is very healthy, very upbeat. but she stays in the house, and she's like, don't come to my house. If you come to my house, you're going to be sitting outside, and I'll be talking to you through the screen door. Like, she said when her kids, my cousins, come over and bring her stuff, they like set it on the porch and knock on the door, let her know it's out there. She doesn't open the door until they leave to bring it in the house. And then I have another aunt that lived in New Jersey who actually passed away from COVID. Wow, we're coming up on 1 year. She passed away in April. But I think about how I was talking to my aunt on the phone. She was going to be 88 last year. They were planning this big party for her on August 8th, which was her birthday, 8/8. And we were all so excited and looking forward to going to New Jersey to celebrate with her. And I'm on the phone talking to my aunt. She's laughing. She's, talking about whatever as she normally does. And then 4 days later, my mom calls and says, oh, your aunt, they had to take your aunt to the hospital. And I was like, what do you mean? She said she has pneumonia. And then like 2 or 3 days later, they said, oh, it's COVID. And then less than a week later, my aunt was gone. And I was just like in shock at how fast COVID took my aunt out of here. Like March 31st, my aunt was laughing, healthy, happy, and 2 weeks later, my aunt was gone. And so COVID back then, it was enough that, just mentally could have taken us out. And so, understanding and watching Prosper and his worry and his concern, it just, makes my heart ache, even though this is a television show. But for all of the elderly people, that this was really impacting them, and just trying to, get a feel of the fear that they must have been facing, and some of them still do. So back to Queen Sugar. So later on in the show, Blue, Darla, and Ralph Angel, they're out on the porch, and Blue is teaching Darla how to play chess. And so Ralph Angel was like, well, I thought you was teaching her how to play checkers. But Blue pretty much said that checkers is for losing and for losers and suckers. And so when he finishes teaching his mama how to play chess, he would teach Ralph Angel how to play. So I was like, Lord have mercy. So Ralph Angel and Darla, they get into a conversation, and basically there is an opening at Darla's job. I guess Darla works at an insurance company somewhere, and they have an opening, and she wants to apply for it, but she's kind of nervous, but Ralph Angel is being very supportive and telling her, don't be nervous, that she can do the job. And so back at Charlie's office, she got her, her contacts, her people everywhere that could get her this information that she needs. So she done called some guy named Tariq at the airport and asked him to find out, where did Parker go? Like, what flight did she catch? When she coming back? Did she have a round trip ticket? So Tariq basically lets her know that Parker flew out the night before, and that she must not, be gone too long because she only had a carry-on bag. And then he starts telling Charlie, about how the virus is now impacting the airports, that people are canceling flights. Nobody is flying anywhere because everybody's scared and concerned because they don't know how this disease is passing among us. And so, of course, that, raises Charlie's concern, not only that this thing is getting real and is halting the airlines and air travel, but also that Parker has gone somewhere to do something she ain't got no business doing, and she need to find out what it is. And I thought it was funny that the guy, Tariq, referred to it as the Chinese virus or the Italian virus, because remember, it started over in Asia, and then I think Italy was one of the first countries to go. France, he said Italian. Okay, so Paris, France was the first place to go to a total shutdown because the cases were so bad over there. And so then we have a scene where Charlie and Micah have a brief conversation, and he's basically telling Charlie that he wants her to come to campus that weekend. and to make sure that she brings Davis, and Charlie assures him that Davis is going to be there. And so he says, don't come to my dorm room because my dorm mate is a slob and I don't want you to see the room, but instead meet me out on the quad near some pop-up. And so Charlie's like, okay, well, we'll see you. We'll be there. So then we move over to Calvin's grandfather's birthday. Now, I thought the grandfather, was a racist, and this is why Calvin was so, hesitant about Nova showing up. Well, they get there and they're greeted by Calvin's mom, who is very friendly, very outgoing, very receptive of Nova, saying that she's happy to meet her. Then they go out and, actually Nova brought the mom some flowers, and she gives the mom the flower. The mom seems to like the flowers. Then she goes and she meets Grandpa Greer. And so she gives him some of his favorite bottle of whiskey. He is happy. He seems okay with meeting Nova. Then one of Calvin's daughters comes over. Her name is Emily, and Nova gives Emily a necklace. And so everybody seems to be, accepting of Nova. And then all of a sudden the camera pans over and we see Mama. And Mama's standing there looking like she really ain't happy that Nova is there. Now, I don't know if she was unhappy because she got a problem with Calvin dating this black woman, or if she has a problem because she don't like Nova, but we will soon kind of get an answer to that question because then Nova and Calvin are standing up, they're standing together talking, and then Calvin's son comes up. And he's pretty cold towards Nova, kind of standoffish. They shake hands, and then he turns and walks away, says he has to go. And then Calvin, tells Nova it's not about her, that the son is still, kind of upset about the divorce, that him and the mother are no longer together. So I'm like, okay, so then we leave the party. Okay, we go over to Charlie. And so Charlie is at Ralph Angel's house, and she's talking to Darla and, pretty much trying to encourage Darla to have a positive attitude. Darla is asking her for tips on how to apply for this job, the things that she should say in this interview. And I'm sitting there looking kind of confused because I'm thinking, now, Darla, when you was working in that parking booth, you pretty much told that man what you wanted him to know. Okay, like you act like you were the boss and this man worked for you, and so finally you ended up getting fired. Then you worked for Charlie as Charlie's administrative assistant, and you were pretty good at that until, Charlie fired you when we found out that Blue wasn't Ralph Angel's son. And then you get this job, and I guess this is where she's been working ever since she moved out. Remember when her parents came and they got her the house and everything. So this insurance company. So it's not like you don't know how to conduct yourself in the business setting or why you're acting all timid and afraid. But, Charlie's giving her some encouragement, basically telling her, treat it as though I'm here to help you, not, to beg you for a job, and give them reasons why Darla is the best person for the job and what she can do for the company. And so Darla, she's just really in her head, okay, about this job. So then we have a scene where Ralph Angel is out in the fields, in the farmland. We ain't seen him harvesting nothing in about 2 seasons. But anyway, Hollywood calls and, ask him, like, when are you coming up here to help me finish getting this place set up? And Ralph Angel told him to call his white brother, talking about Calvin. So I'm like, Lord have mercy. So then later on, Hollywood... So then when Hollywood hangs up the phone with Ralph Angel, Aunt Vi comes in, and so she has him a gift, and it's like a king's crown, and it says The Real Spot, which I guess is the name of the club that he's opening. And so Hollywood, he's really excited and happy about it. He really likes it because it is his logo for the business, and she had it made into like a light fixture, I believe. And so she tells Hollywood, that she's really proud of him. And so they are going to celebrate by reenacting their first date. So of course Hollywood is all excited, and he's like, okay, I want to do this, and I'm going to set this place up. It's going to be really nice. And Aunt Vi is concerned that she is not going to be able to fit into the dress that she wore on their first date. But I just think it's really cute how, the two of them, and there's like a 20-year age difference between Aunt Vi and Hollywood. And so just to see that they are still, keeping the fire burning in their relationship. It's the next day, and Charlie and Dave, well, let's go back to Nova and Calvin and this party, y'all, because I try to lump everything together, but then some people say they don't like when I lump it together. They want me to go in chronological order as things happen on the show. But let's go back to Nova and this cookout, child. So Nova, after she meets the son, here come the ex-wife. So she was like, I didn't know she was going to be here. Haley was going to be here. And so Calvin didn't know Haley was going to be there, but Haley was there to let Miss Nova know something about Calvin. Well, it turns out that Calvin has a thing for black women. And this wasn't the first affair that Calvin has had. And every affair that Calvin has had has been with a black woman. But Nova, I think, is the blackest one there. And I was like, what? And so she told Nova that they're usually, I think she said they're usually not as dark as you, or something about Nova's, about the coloring, about the dark skin. And then she said that, but Nova was different because they usually have a big butt. She said, how the black girls have that big rump roast up there. She didn't say rump roast, but, basically saying that he liked, the women with the small waist and the big hips and the big butt. So now Nova feeling all kind of insecure, right? Like, what the hell is going on here? And so, of course, she's upset. She's getting ready to let Haley have it. And so she basically, is like, what are you saying to me? So then Calvin intervenes. And he basically tells Haley that no, Nova isn't the first black woman that he's ever dated, but Nova is the first woman that he has fallen in love with. And that, everybody else, including Haley, were place fillers until he could find that special woman. And Nova is that special woman. And so, of course, when Nova got him back home, because they had to leave at that point, she's like, I didn't know I was some fetish for you. Like, I can't believe this. And so, of course, Calvin is letting her know she wasn't a fetish, that yes, he loves black women, but he likes all women. And that he's dated all types of women, but he's really in love with Nova. And so it got me to thinking, like, what Nova is doing. Like, she was so angry to find out that he had dated other black women. So I guess, like, in her mind, she made herself feel special that this white man was willing to forsake his white wife and family to be with her, this black woman. So, like, she has these magical powers or something. But I think it's no different than, say, a guy dates light-skinned women. We all know how black men like light-skinned women with long hair, right? So then all of a sudden he meets you and you're dark skinned, you got short hair, and you're feeling kind of, at first you're probably feeling intimidated because you're not the norm of what he likes, but then he makes you feel really special, and just tell you about how much he loves, your dark skin. He loves running his fingers through your natural hair and all of that. And then 6 months down the road, you find out that, oh yeah, he has dated dark skinned women before, and you're special in that there is a spiritual attraction, but you're not special in the physical attraction part. Like, I think that's kind of how Nova was looking at it. And so Nova needs to get over herself and, realize that this man really does love her. He really does care about her. And so it will be interesting to see how they move on from there. So now let's go back to Charlie and Davis, and they show up at the college campus. And you guys know, if you watch my recaps from previous seasons, despite what Davis did to Charlie, the horn around and all of that. I really do want Charlie and Davis to get back together because, as we can see, Davis is the only man that can handle Charlie, okay? We don't know where the doctor then went to, the Hispanic doctor. Where has he gone? Remy went to help his family move, and he ain't never come back. We ain't seen him no more. So it's like, give Davis a shot, and then maybe they'll end up in quarantine. Maybe Davis won't be able to get back to California. He'll end up staying with Charlie, and they will rekindle their relationship. That's what I'm praying for. So, child, they head over to the quad, okay, and they're with Kiki. And so Kiki asks Charlie, do she want something to eat because her friend Darla, got a booth over here. So Kiki goes off to get, whatever they was selling over there, some cones or something. And so they go out, and then I think some girls ran up and were doing a cheer or something. So Charlie and Davis, they move over and, to that area in the quad. And then all of a sudden, here comes this fraternity. Now, we know that Michael then crossed over, right? He's a part of this fraternity. But Charlie didn't know. Charlie looked mortified. And I could not understand why. Like, she looked like Michael had, I don't know, like it was something dirty and disgusting about him being in this fraternity. And then, of course, David was looking like, what the hell? And then he leans over and tells, Charlie, like, why didn't they tell me Michael had pledged? And she was like, I didn't know. And so Davis was like, he was okay with it. He probably was upset that Michael didn't pledge his fraternity, but, he was okay with it because he is in a fraternity. And I'm not sure if Charlie is in a sorority or not, but it seems like maybe, like when her and Micah talked later, and she asked Micah, why didn't you tell us? He basically doesn't want to be judged. He wants to make his own decisions. And she said, but, you could have pledged your father's fraternity. Why would you pledge this fraternity? So I'm thinking that this fraternity that Micah is in would probably be the equivalent of Omega Sci-Fi, the Q Dogs. And so, because when he was trying to tell Charlie, if I had told you, you wouldn't have wanted me to do it. And he said that he was going to apply for Davis's fraternity, but they wouldn't have him. They didn't want him. And Charlie was like, well, you should have said something to your dad. He could have got you in. But Micah says, he wanted to do it on his own. He's his own man now. He wants to make his own decisions. And he's so damn grown that he told his mama that she was being passive aggressive. I said, Charlie probably wants to knock his head off. And I thought it was interesting that, they didn't know it was Micah until Micah pulled his hood off. And I'm like, what parent is looking directly at their son and not know that it's their son? Like, they are kind of slow that they didn't know that was Micah until Micah pulled that hood off. And when I tell y'all, Micah is a nerd to me, but to see him out there trying to be all cool and dancing and slithering all around, then he messed around and looked over and saw Kiki over there talking to that boy, Darrell, okay? And he was like, what the hell is going on over there? So then he tried to make Kiki, jealous, I guess, by start dancing with some of the cheerleaders. And I was just like, child, this is a mess. So then there was a later scene with Micah and Kiki where they were in one of the classroom auditoriums and they were having lunch or something. And Kiki was trying to talk to him, and then, he was acting all uppity. And then he was asking Kiki about the guy and, what was going on with them. So Kiki might be ready to move on from Micah. She might have a problem with Micah being in this fraternity. And then Micah, is showing jealousy tendencies. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Micah and Kiki. We have a scene later on that night with Darla and Ralph Angel, and they're on their way somewhere. when a news story comes on, about the rising cases in COVID-19 and how it's spreading across the country. And so Ralph Angel, says that he's not worried about it, but Darla is. And more importantly, Darla is worried about Mr. Prosper, and about the elderly people in the community. Like, they've been through enough. They're about to lose their farms. There's so much uncertainty, and then to have to deal with that. And so she seems like, and I said to you guys in last week's recap that Darla just seems so uncertain and so sad about so many things. And I'm thinking, she worried about the people in St. Joe. When you gonna call your mom and daddy and make sure that they okay to have what they need, Miss Darla? So then the next day, Charlie is getting a message. She's getting message after message about coronavirus. And then she learns that there's going to be an emergency council meeting. And so they were going to do it via Zoom so they didn't have to meet. And so she's getting all of the information. And at the same time, Darla is rehearsing for this interview that she has going on. And I still say, I don't know why Darla's so stressed out. And she's like crying and fighting back the tears, and she's reciting what she's going to say to the people. And so then Ralph Angel, comes in, and he's basically, looking at her like, why are you so stressed out? And so he basically, tells her that, they would be lucky to have her, and that, she would make a great, whatever this position is, she would be great at it, and to stop stressing and stop worrying about it. And then Darla kind of pulls it together, and, she says what she's going to say, but she's more upbeat and happy about it. We have a scene of Aunt Vi in Hollywood, where they meet up for their little first date reenactment. It was really cute. They both had on, the same outfits that they wore. I don't think Hollywood had the same outfit he wore, because Hollywood looked like he done put on a lot of weight. But anyway, so he had on like this peach colored leisure suit. You guys remember those? I think it was plaid or something. And then Aunt Vi came in with her little short jean skirt, looking good, and she had on her Farrah Fawcett wig. And I was like, go ahead on, Aunt Vi, so they sitting there like really reenacting the conversations. And Aunt Vi said something. She said, Mr. Hollywood. And then Hollywood was like, now, good, well, that ain't what you said. And so then she goes back and she, repeats what she actually said to him, like, why you this young boy trying to talk to this old woman, and I ain't got time to be playing games with you. And so I thought that was like really cute. Oh, and then we find out that they've been together for 18 years. And I'm thinking like, wow, that is really, really nice. So then Charlie calls Aunt Vi, and tells her, the information about COVID-19. And then we have Calvin and Nova, and they're talking about, what's going on, because they're watching Trump as he addressed the nation, talk about the China virus, and then Nova is like, this is more serious than they're letting on, because the NBA has canceled the rest of their season. That's $1 billion industry, and they wouldn't just shut down unless this thing is really, really serious. Then we go back to Charlie, and she's telling Aunt Vi and Hollywood, that the COVID-19 is in the United States and that it's spreading, and that there's conflicting information about how to proceed and to protect the citizens. And then they go to Prosper, and he gets the news too, and he immediately gets worried. And then in St. Joe, then we go back to Charlie and Aunt Vi, and they're talking, and Charlie basically lets Aunt Vi know that she's going to have to close her restaurant down for a few weeks. And then she hangs up, and Aunt Vi, delivers the bad news to Hollywood. And then the show ends. It's the next morning, and Aunt Vi is putting a sign out on the door that says that they are closed and won't be back until April 1st. And so I think they're doing a really good job of, expressing how most of America was feeling as this news was coming down, the uncertainty, the not knowing, the wondering, like, how do I get this? Like, do I go outside and just breathe in the air and I get it? Do I have to touch somebody? Do I have to kiss somebody? Like, we really didn't know, and we still don't know how this virus is spread, and how you go to the grocery store and there's all these people in the grocery store and we're wearing a mask. And then they say, some people say the mask protects us. Some people say the mask doesn't protect us. And so it's just really scary. And then I was seeing on the news the other day that in the Tri-County area where I live, that close to 8,000 people have died from COVID. And like, I don't live in a big metropolitan area. And I believe the state of Florida, oh my God, I can't remember the number. Oh, let me see. I can bring it up right now because I keep this. So in Florida, where I live, of course, it's not going to open. Okay, so in Florida, we've had 1,885,661 cases of COVID, and we have had 30,340 deaths. But in the Tri-County area that I live in, almost 8,000 people have died from COVID. And so I'm sure the stories are similar, you know, where everybody lives at, and just the shock. And so I didn't think I was going to like them covering COVID. But, you know, as I've gotten through these first 2 episodes, I like how they're covering it, because it is so real, you know, about just how everybody was reacting, how people were concerned, but they didn't really want to say that they were concerned, how we have to be, you know, strong for the kids, not let the kids know that we're panicking. We've also got to look at, you know, our older parents and make sure that we don't, you know, contaminate them or, you know, give them anything. You know, how Christmas changed, how Thanksgiving changed, you know, not being able to spend the holidays with loved ones is just really crazy. But I think they are handling this very well. They're doing the writing in a very tasteful manner. And so I am invested at this point. If you followed my Queen Sugar recaps from prior seasons, by the middle of the season, I'm just like, Lord have mercy. It's like we just keep going round and round with the same thing. But so far, I'm invested in seeing, you know, how all of this is going to turn out. But if they let Mr. Prosper die, I'm probably going to be through with Queen Sugar. So guys, that's it for me. Leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.